Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, fa'auzu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Rabbi shrah li sadri wa yassir li amri wahlul 'uqdatan min lisani yafqahu qawli. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear brothers and sisters, and welcome to another episode of Muslim Inside with me, Raja Ziaul Haq. As you know, we've been talking about liberalism for the past 3 or 4 episodes now. And today, inshallah, we're going to move on from liberalism and talk a bit about feminism, if time permits. And we'll also talk about liberalism as a religion. So why do I say that liberalism is a religion? The reason for that primarily is that once the Enlightenment age came about and Europe basically moved away from the Dark Ages, there were two byproducts of the Age of Enlightenment. One of them was the liberal philosophy, and side by side to that was the atheistic philosophy, because now people had started to move away from religion, religious people, God, and everything to do with scripture. So people thought that that was all backwards and outdated, and now we need to progress and we need to move forward. So both the liberal philosophy and atheism started to come about. And then as a result of that, we had materialism, we had capitalism, and then feminism as well as a byproduct of all of that. So I made a claim at the beginning of this video saying that liberalism is a type of religion. Now, why do I say that, and what constitutes a religion? A religion primarily has some scriptures that it follows. So what are the scriptures of liberal philosophy? Well, it's the Magna Carta, it's the Declaration of Independence, it's the Charter of Human Rights, it's the American Constitution. So all of these scriptures now are very, very sacred in the liberal tradition. Who are the prophets of liberalism? You have people like John Locke, John Stuart Mill, and you have David Hume, you have Thomas Jefferson. All of these people have played a huge role in the liberal philosophy and the liberal thought. And because of that reason now, they are really looked up to by these liberal countries. And then they have values as well. You have like liberty, freedom, equality. These are certain values. What is the God of liberalism? Well, the God of liberalism is the self. You yourself are your own God. You follow your own desire and your nafs, and people decide what they want. As John Locke basically said in his second treatise on government, he said that it will be government of the people, for the people, and by the people. We will make our own rules and regulations. Now, the thing is that all throughout history, revealed knowledge has always had importance. You have the empirical knowledge, which is knowledge that is gained through scientific phenomena and investigation and so on. And then you have revealed knowledge. And throughout various cultures, nations, traditions, revealed knowledge has always been very important, because people understood that there is a creator who has sent us divine law and told us how to manage ourselves. And so people who were attached to revelation or revealed knowledge have always had a very high place in society. But with the advent of liberalism, this relation with revelation began to fade away slowly but surely. One of the famous authors, Mary Shelley, who wrote the book Frankenstein, depicted this relationship in a very interesting way in the horror novel that she wrote called Frankenstein, whereby Dr. Frankenstein is a person who creates a monster. And that monster basically he creates out of the parts of people who have passed away and died. So he basically does this huge experiment in his lab where he gets these different organ parts from various people who have died, and then he joins them all together, stitches everything up, and then he connects the body to an electrical conductor and then waits for a bolt of lightning to strike. So when everything is in place and the bolt of lightning strikes, Frankenstein monster wakes up. So this monster now is this giant beast-like creature who is without any revealed knowledge, who's without any guidance whatsoever. So what does he do? He first and foremost kills Dr. Frankenstein. And then he goes out on a rampage, killing and plundering and going into different areas and killing people, even without knowing why he's doing all of that. Until finally he reaches a pond and he looks at his own reflection, and then he hates himself and who he has become. The thing is that this story kind of depicts what mankind would be like without divine revelation or guidance. People, if left to their own devices, what Mary Shelley was trying to depict was that if people are left to their own devices, if people are left to do whatever they feel like doing, then this will cause mayhem and destruction in society, as we have seen with the Roman Empire and the gladiatorial combats taking place at that time, or with Nazi Germany and other nations of the past who have really transgressed beyond imagination, who have pillaged and plundered and destroyed those who were less powerful than them, those who were less fortunate than them. So this has been discussed many a times in history, that if mankind is left without some form of guidance, then mankind will be completely destroyed. So now we have, moving on from John Locke and David Hume and all, we have other people coming in, the trio of Karl Marx, Sigmund Freud, and Sir James George Frazer. They were all people who did not believe in God and had a huge resentment for religious thought. And these people, surprisingly, are still being taught at various universities across our own country of Pakistan, and even in many other Muslim countries as well. And their word is being thought of as the ultimate or the gospel truth, as they say. So Karl Marx, who was born in 1818 and died in 1883, he said that religion is the opium of the people, meaning that this is a tool to keep people oppressed, and it is a type of drug that people are taking. So his view on religion was very clear. Sigmund Freud, born in 1856, died in 1938, he used to say that religion is universal obsessional neurosis, that it's a type of mass madness, that people are crazy who believe in religion. And so we have people like Sir James George Frazer, born in 1854, died in 1941. He used to say that religion evolved from primitive magic, and from primitive magic evolved science. So therefore, primitive magic and religion performed the functions of science that is doing for us today. So he's basically said that science is going to supersede everything else, and in about 50 years or 100 years, religion will be dead. So Sir James George Frazer now is dead, and religion is still alive and kicking. As a matter of fact, there are now many people who are turning towards Islam, now being the fastest growing religion in the world, and you have people who are now trying to find their relationship, trying to be more spiritual. Whereas the whole liberal movement tried to make people more material and focus on material things and focus on possessions and what have you. But now we see that people, they've basically said enough is enough. They've been bombarded with materialism so much that now people are looking for spirituality, because people understand that there is something more to us than the physical body that we have. Yes, we have a body, but inside this body, there is something else which is metaphysical, which is the soul, which is exactly who you are. So from the Islamic perspective, we know that we have a soul and we have a body. The body is going to perish. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Kullu man alayha fan wa yabqa wajhu rabbika zul jalali wal ikram." The body will finish, except, everything's going to finish except Allah Almighty. So the body will become dust and will be buried in the ground, but then the soul moves on from one state to another state, from the state of this life to the state of the grave, and another state on the day of judgment, and then into paradise, or God forbid, in hellfire. So the soul keeps moving on. So we understand that. And a lot of times there are many troubles you go through in life whereby you feel that there is an emptiness inside you. You might feel that you're depressed. You might feel that despite the fact that you have all of these material possessions, you're still not happy, that your soul is discontent. Then what is the reason for that? We, from the Islamic perspective, explain that really well. And inshallah, we will talk about this in much detail in another episode. But I just wanted to just briefly highlight that now the world is slowly moving towards spiritual things. People are demanding it because we have been bombarded with so much of this retail therapy of shop till you drop, always trying to acquire wealth and more possessions to find happiness. And we all know that happiness is not there. We've seen many people committing suicide, people who were extremely wealthy, had the best of everything, many celebrities who take their own lives, be they sportsmen or actors or musicians or movie directors or dancers, singers, all of these people who were extremely well off, led very rich and envious, some type of lifestyle that most people would envy that lifestyle. That I wish I had that. Living the quote-unquote American dream. Turns out it's an American nightmare. highest suicide rates in some of the most progressive countries in the world. Why is that happening? Because of our move towards materialism, whereby we've forgotten the soul. We've fed the body, but we forgot to feed the soul. And so this is what the world is basically moving towards, or what the liberal philosophy wanted the world to go towards. So now in the modern day and age, we have the four horsemen. I talked about the trio of Karl Marx and Sigmund Freud and Sir James George Fraser. Now we have the new atheist movement, which is being led by Richard Dawkins, Daniel Dennett, Sam Harris, Christopher Hitchens. They're known as the four horsemen. And now these are the people who are now championing their way into the modern atheistic movement, trying to get people away from God. But it's surprising and it's funny in a way, because now even some of them are talking about spirituality whilst saying at the same time that there is no such thing as metaphysical. It's quite interesting that they would say things like that. So the thing is that there was an experiment that was done in Russia. You know, Russia was a communist state, a state that was militant atheist, because they were literally proclaiming and propagating atheism from state level. No religious symbols were allowed for 50 years while Russia was in power. For 50 years, the state religion was atheism. And they propagated that. No religious symbols were allowed. The TV didn't talk about it. The radio never mentioned it. You know, so there was no religious talk going on at all. So for 50 years, you can have 3 generations in 50 years. In 50 years, the people who were raised in that type of society, one would expect that, you know, that society would, by the end of 50 years, would become completely godless. Whereby when Russia fell and it broke up into different states, when surveys were done to find out what people's opinion is about God, 75 to 80% people still, after 50 years of being bombarded with atheist thought, still believed in God. Because belief in God, as we talked about this in a much earlier episode, that belief in God is to do with your fitrah. It's your very deep nature that you have this in you, that you believe in God. And every child is born believer in God. So even though they tried to destroy the concept of God from the public domain, but still after 50 years, that conversation was still taking place and people still identified as believers in God. Whether they be Christians or Jews or Muslims or any other faith, whereby they knew that there is a higher power out there, there is someone who is managing the affairs of all of us, and that to him we have to return. So despite being bombarded, still people believe that. Now let's bring the discussion onto another ism, which is feminism. And so inshallah today we'll talk about it briefly, and then we'll talk about it in detail in the next episode inshallah. Now, how do we link liberalism to feminism? Well, liberalism and colonialism can be easily linked to feminism because, normally when they talk about the different waves of the feminist movement, you talk about the first wave, second wave, third wave, and now the fourth wave or neo-feminism. There is a wave that people forget, which is what we can call zero-wave feminism. And this zero-wave feminism began somewhere around the mid-1700s. Jeremy Bentham, who was born in 1748, died in 1832, he was an English philosopher. He talked about this, that there is a need to civilize the savage woman, meaning that they needed a justification to go into different countries as colonizers. So he came up with this. Montesquieu, the French judge and philosopher, who was born in 1689, died in 1755. He talked about this extensively. Marcus de Condorcet, again another French philosopher, born in 1743, died in 1794. He also talked about this. They basically said that the European woman is so much better than the savage woman. That was the premise. That was the premise that they had. That the European woman is so much better than the savage woman. Wherever we're going, whether we go to Africa, Australia, the United States, wherever we're going. So the natives have to be civilized. And so we need to colonize them. This was purely a justification for colonization. Not that, live and let live. If they prefer a certain way for themselves, fine. That's their way. That's their culture. That's their tradition. No, we have to go in there and spread liberalism by the sword in the name of feminism. We're going to say, oh, we're coming in for women's rights. But we are going to do, in fact, is that we're going to change your entire culture and change your entire society. These early colonizers wrote about this in very explicit detail, by the way, saying that we cannot change, for example, the Muslim mindset. When we go into Muslim lands, we cannot go in there and say, look, we don't accept your religion. We want to talk against it. So they said, we won't do that. What we will do, in fact, is that we will come in as saviors and we will come in as liberators, and we'll say that we don't need to change Islam. We don't need to remove Islam. Rather, we'll just reform Islam. Islam is great. Islam is fantastic. We just need to reform it ever so slightly so that certain ahkam from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, certain rules and regulations from Allah can be altered and changed. You can still call yourself a Muslim, but now you will be a modernist Muslim, whereby certain commands you will follow and certain commands you will not follow. Welcome to the feminist movement. This is primarily the pretext for the feminist movement. If you want a good read on that, there is a book called White Women's Rights by Louise Michelle Newman, a great book talking about all of this that I've just discussed, about the zero-wave feminist movement, how basically the motives behind this movement were not women's liberation or women's rights or any of those things. Rather, the motives behind it was purely to colonize and basically make all women of the world like the white woman. Make all women in the world like the white woman. So this is basically a very interesting read, and inshallah you'll find it very beneficial. My dear brothers and sisters, we talked about one thing yesterday. We talked about the state-centric system versus the family-centric system. Now, feminism, I'm just giving you a brief introduction right now. Feminism has been an instrument to disrupt the family-centric system and to make it corporate, state-centric, and lead towards colonialism. So let me repeat that. Feminism has been an instrument to disrupt the family-centric system and to make it state-centric, so that when the colonizers come in and they take over, it is easy for them to manipulate the masses and make them believe and make them think that they are in fact coming in as saviors, coming in as liberators. So it is a movement to remove the family-centric system, whereby women already had authority and power and all of those things, financial rights, all of these amazing rights they already had. Remove all of that and then make everyone a corporate slave. Men, women, children, every becomes part of the institution, the corporate institution. That was the whole mission in the first place. Backed by, the dollar, backed by money basically. That we need more money, we need more wealth. And for that reason, we need to come in and remove the family-centric system. Because as long as we have the family-centric system, the power lies with the family. The bigger the family you have, the more powerful you are. The bigger the family business you have, the more financially independent you are. The bigger number you have, the greater strength you have. So all of these things we need to remove. And at the head of this family were the women, because they were raising up this entire family. They were respected in the family. They were loved and cherished in the whole family. And so this system had to go, whereby now people have to become nuclear families, isolated pockets, no concept of extended family. And so because of that reason now, when you become little pockets, it's easy to manage people in bite-sized chunks. It's hard to control a people who are already financially independent, who are loved at home, who are given their due rights by people around them. It's hard to break up these people. It's hard to control these people. So the best way is to kind of give them an idea that they think it's their own. Give them an idea that they think it's their own idea. And then split them up in the name of progress. People start to leave their families, go look for work elsewhere, all around the world. I'm not saying it's haram to look for work elsewhere, but I'm saying that when it happens at such a large scale, you have to question things. That why is it that people are leaving their fathers, their mothers, other family members? Sometimes I've met people across the world. Some have even left their wives and children in order to find a job somewhere. And so the quality of life, what's happening? Is life all about just sending money home? Is that all what life is all about? What about you? What about your time? What about your efforts with your family? What about being there for your loved ones? So a person who's been sending money, after a few years, he realizes that my life is completely pointless. It's meaningless. I have no real love in my life. And then they go through depression and all of these things. So the feminist movement was basically an instrument to disrupt the family-centric system. For example, discouraging marriage, which the feminist movement now talks about a lot, the new fourth wave feminist movement, discouraging pregnancy or removing pregnancy, ending pregnancy, talking about abortion rights, promoting promiscuity, and reducing the concept of large-scale families, preferring career over family, encouraging nuclear family, encouraging divorce and single parenthood, and that you can be an independent woman as a single parent. And we realize that 50%, according to statistics, that 50% of children born to single parent households have a higher dropout rate at schools and colleges and have a higher rate of committing crimes. So there is a correlation in society whereby the whole family is not a part of that, and you're living on your own trying to raise a family. There's a famous proverb that it takes a village to raise a child. And it's true, it's very true. It does take a village to raise a child. But where is that village now? Where is the village that is raising the child? The mother is off to work. The child is in the daycare. The child is plugged in, literally plugged in to the corporate entities, the daycare center, the Montessori, the school, the college, the Netflix, the Facebook, WhatsApp, YouTube. People are just plugged in. Everybody is in their own world. So where is that village that was supposed to raise a child? That concept is gone. It's an individualistic lifestyle that people are pursuing, led by corporations to find happiness. Even your socialization is happening now on these apps by the corporations. All of your socialization. Previously, before all of this technology was there, people used to go out to meet people. People used to go to visit people, visit their neighbors, take something to eat, But now all of that has kind of fizzled away. Now, as long as we send somebody a text, we're just happy with that. We seem to be connected with people around the world, but not connected to those who are living in the same house as us. This is the sad dilemma in which we are. So, people want company by nature. People are social by nature. So when they don't get the love and affection of the family, or the family unit rather, they look for this company elsewhere. And then this leads to basically fascism and nationalistic thoughts and this cult mentality whereby people will follow certain groups. So this is what the feminist narrative has been about. Coming in to disrupt the family-centric system. You guys must be aware that there is a Women's Day march that is held in Pakistan every year. It's called the Aurat March. And I've had a chance to appear on certain television shows, talking to certain people, even behind the scenes, talking to certain women who are championing the feminist cause in Pakistan and are leaders of this feminist movement here and leaders of the Aurat March. And I've been very sincere in my approach to them, and I've asked them that, look, nobody in their right mind would deny a woman her rights. Islam, first and foremost, champions women's rights. As a matter of fact, I could very easily argue that the kind of rights Islam gives to women, no other religion on the planet gives to women. No other ism or schism gives to women. The kind of rights that Islam gives to women, I can debate this, I can challenge you on this. One by one, we can pick each of the rights given by Islam to women. Not now, 1400 years ago. Not something because the right to vote, women were given in the 1920s. In the late 1800s, the first woman went to a university. So for the Western world, these rights are very new. Right to inheritance, women got maybe about 150 years ago. And even to this date, in the system you have in the UK, the system of the Lords, women still don't get a share in the inheritance. So what are they talking about when they talk about women's rights? Now, what Islam gives to women, this is what my claim was. This is what my offer was to some of these women who were champions of the feminist movement in Pakistan and leaders of the Aurat March. I said to them that Islam gives women the right to an education. That to seek an education is an obligation on every Muslim man or woman. It's an obligation. Islam gives women the right to vote because it considers them to be equal citizens. Islam gives women a share in inheritance. Islam discourages domestic violence and talks about respect for women. As a matter of fact, the Prophet ﷺ, he said that the best of you are those who are best to their wives. Islam does not allow for forced marriages. A woman cannot be married in Islam against her will. Islam forbids marrying women to, for example, the Quran. Like there was a custom here in Pakistan, people would do it out of a cultural practice. It had nothing to do with religion. And likewise, honor killings, what we call karo-kari here, this honor killing system, Islam completely forbids it. Likewise, Islam forbids adultery and rape and cheating on spouses and so on. There is punishments for that. There is severe punishment for rape. So Islam says to execute the rapist. There is extreme punishment for the one who would rape a woman or rape a little girl or rape a child. So Islam does that so that there is a deterrent that is created in society to protect the women and the other weak of society, the children and the young girls and the boys. Islam gives women complete financial rights, and whatever she earns is her own money. Nobody has a share in that. When she's living with her father in his house, then it is the obligation, it is the duty of the father to provide for his daughter. He has to provide her food and clothing and shelter and education and everything that possibly she needs. The father has to provide it, and if he doesn't do so, he is sinful. When she gets married, her entire expenditures are to be taken care of by her husband. Even if she's a millionaire, even if this woman is a millionaire, her fooding, her clothing, her boarding, her lodging, everything has to be taken care of by her husband. He has to do it. If he doesn't do it, he's sinful. He's sinful in Islam. And this could be grounds for khula, grounds for divorce for her. That my husband is not providing for me, so I need a divorce. This could be grounds for khula for her. That her husband is not fulfilling the hakam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which are a responsibility and obligation upon him. So I said all of these and more are rights that Islam already gives to women. And I'm willing to come with you. I'm willing to champion these rights with you. Let's go out there and let's talk to the people in power. Let's talk to the people in authority and say that, look, if any of these laws are not being applied, then let's apply them. Because these are the ahkam of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. These are the laws of Allah, whereby the woman is protected and sheltered. The woman has respect as a mother, 3 times, as we find in the hadith, more than the father. The woman has respect as a wife, as a daughter. The Prophet ﷺ, he said that whoever has 3 daughters and he raises them up properly, gives them all that he can, and raises them up in a proper way, then him and I will be like this on the Day of Judgment. So as Muslims, we would love to be in the company of the Prophet ﷺ. Which Muslim wouldn't want that? So we are given the glad tidings of the company of the Prophet ﷺ if we raise up 3 daughters. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless the companion who said that, Ya Rasulullah, what if he only has 2 daughters? The Prophet ﷺ said, even if you have 2, even then you will be like this with me in paradise. Allahu Akbar. What more could we ask for? So no matter which role a woman is in, she is respected and loved and cherished. And it is the duty of the man to provide her safety and to look after her. And she has all of these rights as well, which Islam gives and more. So I told them that, look, we are here to fight for these rights alongside with you. Why don't you get the religious community on board so that we can be on the same page? But then when they moved back, that's when I realized that maybe this is not what they want. They want something else. My body, my choice, as was the movement in the 70s in the US, whereby you want now abortion rights. You want rights whereby you want sexual freedoms. You want to be sexually liberated, playing into the hands of who? Of the corporate media culture, the porn industry, the billboards and the magazines. You want to be used by men now. What strange phenomena is this? What type of protection is this? So my dear men and sisters, inshallah we'll talk more about the feminist movement and what it has become today. And this question that is Does feminism have monopoly on women's rights? The answer is no, but inshallah, I'll explain this in tomorrow's session. Inshallah, do take care of yourselves. My sincerest duas for all of you. Inshallah, I'll see you guys tomorrow. Same time, same channel. Until then, wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.